The government of Venezuela and the Organization of Oil Exporting Countries, OPEC, move on with their future cooperation in energy investment projects. Mexico rejected the arguments used by the U.S. to justify the 25% increase in tariffs on steel and aluminum. And Panama's National Assembly will resume the second debate of the bills that seek to amend the organic law of the Social Security Fund. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. This Tuesday, the third annual edition of the India Energy Week started in New Delhi. The event, which will run from February 11th to the 14th, brings together delegations from at least 120 countries to discuss the main challenges facing the sector and promote sustainable solutions. This year's edition will showcase technological innovations and decarbonization strategies aligned with global energy goals, with a focus on energy access, security, affordability, and sustainability. With more than 500 speakers across over 95 sessions, the event will explore key themes shaping the global energy landscape. The government of Venezuela and the Organization of Oil Exporting Countries, OPEC, move on with their future cooperation in energy investment projects. The Vice President and Minister of Oil and Gas of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, met Tuesday in New Delhi with OPEC's General Secretary, Haitham Al-Ghais, to address issues of interest in terms of cooperation and intra-organizational cohesion. The meeting took place during India's Energy Week, which is being held in the nation's capital. During the encounter, the representatives for both parties reviewed part of the OPEC Plus agreement and discussed benefits of being part of the alliance, which seeks to stabilize the international energy market for the development of their countries.
This evolution, the energy future, must be done with a lot of responsibility, without illegal sanctions that weigh so absurdly on the future, how the future is compromised. These investments should be aimed at collecting and storing CO2 emissions. And all the resources must be directed in a responsible way to research and technology to alleviate the terrible climate crisis. And above all, this evolution must be done with equity, equality, and fair access for the people.
Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez said that excluding countries with large oil and gas reserves has a great economic, political, and geopolitical impact.
But also in the international economy, it is the role that producers play in the framework of the world economy. In the case of Russia, for example, pretending to exclude a giant in oil and gas, pretending to exclude it from the energy formula, undoubtedly had an impact, and it had an impact on the European markets. And well, this has had not only an economic impact, but also a political and geopolitical impact. In the case of Venezuela, to try to exclude the country that has the largest oil reserves on the planet is absurd, and I believe that time has proven that those who tried to exclude Venezuela from the international energy formula were wrong. What is the role of Venezuela? Venezuela not only has light oil, it also has many reserves of heavy and extra heavy oil. And we always reiterate in the case of India, with whom we share a relationship of brotherhood and cooperation, that oil must be at the service of development in the terms that we have been evaluating.
Venezuela will go to the United States justice system to denounce those involved in the U.S. aid case. Venezuelan Attorney General Tarek William Saab said that international judicial cooperation is important to prosecute all those involved in the looting of U.S. assets and the financing of serious crimes against the Venezuelan state. The Bolivarian Prosecutor's Office will formally request the extradition of the fugitives from Venezuelan justice involved in the embezzlement of the federal agency Juan Guaidó, Leopoldo López, and Carlos Vecchio, among others. Colombian President Gustavo Petro took to his social platforms to comment on the return of Venezuelan migrants and encourage undocumented Colombians living in the U.S. to return to their homeland. Good for the Venezuelan migrants who return to their countries from the United States without handcuffs. The migrants should be treated with dignity. In this context, Petro added, the pride of being Colombian should be carried around the world without shame. Ask all Colombians without papers in the U.S. to return. The consulates have expanded to warranty information to all Colombian migrants who wish to return freely to our country. Venezuelans are getting ready to celebrate the International Tourist Carnival 2025 with a cultural agenda that includes concerts, parades, and cycling. The event will begin on Friday in Caracas with the presentation of the candidates for Young Queen, Godmother, and Godfather of the Carnivals 2025. The program will also include a children's caravan on February 26th from Plaza Morelos to Plaza de la Juventud, as well as recreational activities and parades organized by 190 bases of socialist missions from that day until March 1st. The concert Retumba Caracas or Caracas Rumble is another event within the carnivals to be held in different parishes on February 28th, March 1st, and March 2nd. On this day, there will be two races, the Caracas 5K and Caracas Rueda Libre or Caracas Free Round. The program will end with the Octavita Carnival featuring a mountain bike race and a concert in the capital's youth square. And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember, you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The Mexican government rejected the arguments used by the United States to justify the 25% increase in tariffs on steel and aluminum. Mexico's Secretary of Economy, Marcelo Ebrard, denied the claims made by Washington that steel and aluminum exports from his country had increased by more than 1,600%. The government official described the U.S. tariffs increase as unfair, while assuring that the trade balance is favorable to the United States, since that country exports more to Mexico than it imports from Mexico. Ebrard pointed out that the tariffs could affect the markets of Canada, the United States, and Mexico by increasing the price of the products made jointly by the three North American nations.
No tiene sentido.
It doesn't make sense. So I would firstly say that if we import more steel and aluminum from the United States than they do from us, the argument to impose tariffs is not logical, because they have a trade surplus with us. But secondly, these tariffs are a bad idea, because as I have already shown you right now, only in the case of pistons we are integrated with the three countries for the production and smelting of aluminum. How this piston is finished, how it crosses borders, how it is assembled again in Wisconsin. Imagine 8 times for only one piston. So we have to take care of that production.
The results of Ecuador's first round of voting on Sunday showed that a greater number of cantons voted for presidential candidate Luisa González than for candidate Daniel Noboa. According to the National Electoral Council, CNE, González won 117 cantons, mostly in the coast and north of the country, while President Noboa's support was concentrated in the Central Highlands and 2/3 of the Amazon, for a total of 97 cantons. The Citizens' Revolution obtained more than 60% of the votes in 46 cantons, its greatest victory being in the province of Manabí in the city of Jaramillo, where they obtained 83% of endorsements. On the other hand, candidate Leonidas Itza, representative of Pachacutic, won in 7 cantons of his native Cotopaxi, Chimborazo, Cañar, and Zamora in the province of Loja, in spite of being in 3rd place. In this sense, the head of state and presidential candidate Daniel Noboa denounced Tuesday irregularities in the scrutiny of the first presidential round in Ecuador. Noboa assured to have evidence of a possible fraud that prevented him from winning with a higher number of votes and explained the reasons why he did not celebrate nor made statements at the end of the election day on Sunday. The presidential candidate pointed out that according to his count, there have been data registered in several provinces of the country that contradict the preliminary results by the Organization of American States. Panama's National Assembly will resume the second debate of the bill that seeks to amend the organic law of the Social Security Fund. The bills also contemplate the allocation of special funds under the pretext of paying the pensions for the month of February. The Panamanian workers warned that with the approval of these projects, the resources of the insurance fund will be handed over to the banks and the pensions administrators. The General Secretary of the Construction Workers, Saul Mendez, said that the bill intends to approve the initiative promoted by the government in spite of being rejected by several organizations and unions.
Hoy es 10 de febrero. La información que manejamos es que la Asamblea pretende declararse.
Today is February the 10th. The information that we have is that the Assembly intends to declare itself in permanent session. Dana Castañeda, the RN representatives, Vamos, and others intend to take this discussion with flying colors, a real coup against the people. They intend, as we have already said, to declare a permanent session, not allowing any room for debate, to prevent society from addressing this issue in the second debate, to impose their will, to steal the money from the insurance fund and give it to the banks, to the private pension funds administrators, to increase the retirement age, to lower the pension to 40% and less. That is to say, it is the robbery of the century. We cannot allow that to happen. We must declare a state of alert, all the workers of the country and the Panamanian people to face this robbery.
Debemos declararnos en estado de alerta, todos los trabajadores del país y el pueblo panameño.
In Uruguay, strong winds and storms caused power outages in large part of the country. According to the state-owned energy supply company, more than 27,000 customers are without power. The rains and wind gusts felled trees and damaged the power lines in the cities. The electric company has not provided details on the restoration of services, but authorities warned that the most affected departments are those of Colonia, Soriano, Flores, and San Jose. Welcome back to From the South. On Tuesday, the Carabinieri police force of Palermo carried out a major anti-mafia operation that led to the issuing of restrictive measures for 183 people, 36 of whom were already in prison on other charges. Those arrested are held responsible for criminal association of a mafia nature, attempted murder, extortion aggravated by the mafia method, and association for the purpose of drug trafficking. The investigation, coordinated by the Public Prosecutor's Office of Palermo and the District Anti-Mafia Directorate, brought to light an encrypted communication system that the mafia clans used to communicate with each other in a secure manner.
The investigation clearly shows what many other investigations in Calabria, Puglia, Campania, and northern Italy have revealed. Namely, that the high-security prison circuit is a circuit that is subject to the domination of criminal organizations in which detained mobsters enjoy an intact ability to communicate and to spread criminal directives.
Two things are important. One is that the organization knows that in order to become strong again, it needs a central direction, a commission, and it can't achieve this. The other is that it has adapted to this difficulty by connecting the areas controlled by a mafia family, or its affiliates, through the technological tools we've talked about so far.
Pope Francis sent a letter to the U.S. bishops rejecting President Donald Trump's actions on mass deportations. The Pope said that Washington faces a crisis due to the mass deportations of migrants and refugees. The head of the Catholic Church denounced that the act of deporting people who left their homelands for reasons of poverty, insecurity, or persecution hurts human dignity. Pope Francis calls on the Trump administration to implement policies that regulate orderly and legal migration and asks Catholics not to fall into discriminatory propaganda. On Tuesday, the United Arab Emirates host the 12th World Government Summit, a meeting to discuss economic stability, digital transformation, and public-private cooperation. The summit brings together more than 6,600 people, including heads of state, ministers, and international organizations. Until February 13th, participants will seek to promote initiatives to address the accelerated technological evolution and geopolitical transformations. In this edition, the World Government Summit promotes dialogue on the changes and challenges facing society with the aim of assessing the process and strengthening future generations. On Tuesday, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, said that Israel has displaced about 40,000 residents from refugee camps in the northern West Bank. UNRWA stressed that the forced displacement of Palestinian communities is escalating at an alarming rate. The United Nations agency added that displacement operations began in Jenin 3 weeks ago and have since then extended to Tulkarem, Nur Shams, and Farah camps. UNRWA pointed out that forced displacement in the West Bank is a result of an increasingly dangerous and coercive environment, where at least 38 airstrikes were carried out in 2025 alone. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas postponed the release of Israeli detainees scheduled for next February 15th due to non-compliance with the terms of the ceasefire by Israel. The spokesman of the movement declared that the delivery of the detainees was postponed until the Zionist forces assumed their commitments and compensate for the damage caused recently. Among the violations committed by Israel, the spokesman highlighted the delay in allowing the entry of Gazans to the north of the coastal enclave and the problems with the delivery of humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, delegations from both sides and mediating countries are in Qatar to begin official negotiations for the second phase of the agreement and a definitive ceasefire. U.S. President Donald Trump has again threatened to unleash hell on the Gaza Strip if Hamas does not resume the release of Israeli hostages by February 15th. The president said that if Hamas does not resume the exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners by Saturday, all hell will break loose on the resistance movement in the Gaza Strip. Trump said that if the movement does not comply with the release of the hostages, he would tell Israel to cancel the agreement and to do what it deems necessary without ruling out a possible U.S. involvement in the response to Hamas. Meanwhile, the resistance movement said Monday that the doors remain open for the exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinians as long as Israel complies with the deadlines and requirements of the ceasefire agreement. In Yemen, the art industry begins its revival with a new exhibition by prominent artist Majed Al-Hamadi. The show, located in the Gallery of Sana'a, features over 120 pieces reflecting resilience through themes such as homeland identity and humanity. The artist explores everything from realism to surrealism, capturing pain and hope. The exhibition also addresses the suffering of the Palestinian people, turning art into a medium for expressing emotions and connecting cultures. Visitors and artists describe this initiative as a significant change after years of conflict, highlighting the power of art as a bridge of communication in difficult times. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.